Thank you very much. Thank you. Hello, everyone. I don't know how I follow this up, to be honest, especially given how much we have to switch gears between the topics. But anyways, my name is Lyubomira. And I'm really excited to be here, so thank you for having me. For the next 10 minutes, I would like to talk to you about operationalizing, difficult word to say, your AI development, and more specifically about how to discover and prioritize the requirements for your ML platform and tooling. A small disclaimer before we go any further. For the duration of this talk, I will use AI and ML interchangeably because for the context of this talk, it doesn't make a difference. So AI is everywhere, right? I think we all agree on that. Whether you're building or buying and operating AI at scale is really, really hard. Everybody who has done it or attempts to do it will agree with that. There's so many challenges every step of the way. Some are clearly unique to developing AI, like data labeling or model training, right? While others are familiar, more common with normal traditional software development, like scalability and security. But even those shared challenges usually require a different approach in the context of ML development. And luckily, the field of MLOps has been growing a lot over the past few years, which helps us tackle, simplify, and solve all of these challenges. At least this is the promise. What is MLOps, for those of you who don't know? It is the practice of streamlining and automating the life cycle of machine learning models, from development to deployment, monitoring, and maintenance. It really integrates data science, software engineering, DevOps practices to ensure that ML models are reliably developed, scaled, versioned, and continuously improved in production environments. Great. And over the past 10 years or so, the MLOps space has been growing at an impressive speed. In 2012, there were roughly 140 tools in this category. By 2023, this was around 1,400 tools. This is an impressive 1,000% increase. Just think about this number. This undoubtedly reflects the AI hype, right? But it also reflects something else. It reflects the fact that AI development does not sit neatly within code, and it does not fit the standard software development lifecycle. It reflects the fact that in the short term, you can manage to develop and integrate individual ML models here and there within your code base, with your standard tools, with some or a lot of duct tape, and in my experience, with a lot of manpower. But as you scale, and in the longer term, you need the ability, that word again, to operationalize the development of models. And for that, the standard software development tools and processes are not enough. So today, I want to talk to you about how to navigate this vast landscape and how to discover, prioritize, and create a strategy behind your MLOps platform and tooling. So to make this a little bit more concrete, let's walk through an example from my own experience. At Onfido, we build automated identity verification products, verifying millions of identities every day across the globe. Our products use hundreds of machine learning models to assess fraud, to ensure that you are who you say you are, and that you can safely access banking or other services, right? And data labeling is a key aspect in our ability to develop these models. Back in 2020, we had a proprietary, internally developed data labeling tool tailored to our unique needs. We had very specific requirements, worked with sensitive data, and took pride in developing our own internal tools. There was a big pride element here. However, by 2022, we were struggling to dedicate the resources to maintain and continue improving the tool. Our needs were also evolving and becoming more complex, making the tool not fit for purpose rapidly. And while we took pride in developing our technology and tools, we increasingly started seeing data labeling not as a core competency. And this was a sign for us to actually look outside and consider buying a data labeling tool. So remember this picture? Well, if my slide moves, back in 2022, when we started looking, there were over 100 different data labeling tools to choose from. And this number was growing. There were automated tools, there were manual labeling platforms, crowdsourcing platforms, integrated solutions with some MLOps platforms, and niche industry-specific solutions. You name it, the market seemed to have it. So we got very excited. There are many options. But with so many options, how do you choose? Well, before going any further, I will skip straight to the punchline of this talk. And that is that focusing on your functional requirements only is not enough. As with the successful development of AI, to choose the correct development tools and platforms, you need to engage the wider organization and look beyond the strictly technical. And if there is one thing that you remember, I hope you remember this point.
If you're enjoying this, then LeadDev's got loads more to offer and there's tons to explore.
So the reason I love LeadDev so much is they've got such a range of content on so many different topics in the world of engineering, leadership, and management.
So LeadDev helped a lot on building my own career, right? And it's great to also see how it's helping the new generation as well.
Make sure to sign up and join us at leaddev.com.
So, okay, let's talk about discovering requirements. Whether you're in a need for a specific tool, like data labeling, or a full platform or a partial platform, you need to discover your requirements. But what does that actually mean in this context? Well, it's very tempting to start straight from your technical requirements, right? In my experience, it's really more useful to start with your business objectives. Start by clarifying what are your use cases. Define the specific ML applications that you plan to support. Like in our case, fraud prevention. Map your stakeholders. What are your users? Who are your users? But also, who are your second and third degree stakeholders that you need to engage with? Define your success metrics and KPIs. I can't stress enough how important that point is. And it's really important to define the outcomes and KPIs that, from a business perspective and platform and technical perspective, that will help you evaluate the success of your choice. And define, or at least discuss upfront, what are your budget constraints, especially in the current environment. After you've done that, you can move on to your functional requirements. In our example, this is what type of data we need to label. A lot of images in our case. What volume of data, frequency of data labeling, import, export capabilities, data management, labeling automation. There is a ton to consider here, and that will be different depending on the type of tool or platform we are discussing, right? And after considering our objectives and our technical requirements, from these 100+ tools, we have narrowed down our options to under 50. So we were making progress, and it was going well. We're like, OK, we're getting there. But next, we thought, OK, one thing we still haven't discovered is security, compliance, and privacy constraints. Since we worked with PII data, data security, access management, data ownership and location, and compliance with regulations were extremely important. And we quickly discovered that they actually impose non-negotiable constraints too. Those weren't just requirements. Those are hard constraints that we couldn't negotiate with. And frankly, this proved to be one of the hardest aspects that we needed to work with and satisfy. To give you one example of many, for us, for our data, not even the label artifacts in this particular example could be stored on the tool's infrastructure. Everything needed to be installed on our premise, which significantly reduced our options. Another aspect, which was rather surprising to us, through further discussions with stakeholders, we also discovered a strong preference, even though not explicitly stated or written everywhere, for more established or well-funded startup tools with which we can build a longer-term partnership. We also discovered that tools from companies in certain geographies were a no-go, even if they fulfilled our requirements and were well-priced. Why? Well, one of the reasons was because we needed to disclose and get an approval from our customers for any third-party software that we were adding and using to process their data. And they had certain opinions about what those should be, could be, and not. Next, we looked at process and people. Those are two aspects which, to my mind, are very important, but frankly, in our technology world, they're often overlooked. Process design is fundamental to the success of any change of your ML platform. And that can be a separate talk all by itself. But I really do urge you to consider and actively design how your processes will need to change to accommodate a new tool that you're planning to introduce. For us, we needed to explicitly redefine roles, responsibilities, and expectations for some individuals and teams. We had to create new processes around defining and authorizing and launching data labeling jobs and what the SLAs will be, right? We needed to discuss and negotiate this. Through this process, it actually took much longer than expected, and it was quite challenging and rather political as well, which was a surprise and something that we didn't account for initially. Moving on, going through kind of these different aspects of requirements, we use several methods to discover our needs again and again. We conducted many user interviews, again with our direct users, but with our kind of second and third degree stakeholders to really understand what are their assumptions, what are their expectations, what are their needs, what are their stakes. We mapped our current architecture and processes to identify what will need to change. We also ran several POCs with a few tools that we shortlisted. We prioritized our requirements into those that are must-have or are imposing hard constraints, those that are nice to have, and those that are not essential, and that we weren't really willing to pay for. And this allowed us to get really clear about the problem that we are trying to solve and focus on what truly mattered, and cut through the noise. And this is my busy slide. But at the end of this, from over the 100 tools, we narrowed it down only to 2 that fit our criteria. In brackets, they both blew our budget, right? But this process of discovering, refining, prioritizing our requirements, understanding what is negotiable and non-negotiable for us, and evaluating tools took us well over 3 months. Surprised? So were we. And it took us this long because we were figuring this out as we went. And it took a few iterations, a few requirements discovered late or discovered by surprise when stakeholders just say, you want to do that? No way, right? But probably the most important thing, as a byproduct of this process, we learned the true state of our system and our ML development maturity. And this also helped us understand our products better and map and connect our business, product, and technical KPIs, which proved really an invaluable exercise. And lastly, showed us that every aspect of AI development is more than just about the tech. I've kind of summarized and developed a light framework and a list of questions based on this experience that you can access through the QR code, and hopefully it can help you navigate your own MLOps journey. And thank you very much for your attention.